Air and Sea Show, South Florida's largest beach party, where the optimum colors are red, white, and blue. Over 3.5 million people soaking up the sights and sounds of freedom from a beautiful 5-mile stretch of Fort Lauderdale Beach. I have been to a lot of air shows, but never to one like this. Hi, everybody. I'm John Nicholson. The setting here, the sheer size of this event make it spectacular, but there is a whole lot more involved. To tell us about that, let's bring in my partner, Brigadier General, U.S. Air Force retired Walter G. Vartan, better known as Gibby. Quite an opportunity here, Gibby, for the Armed Forces.
Certainly is. A chance for the military to reconnect with the public and to get a chance to see the equipment and the technology.
You're going to see some spectacular demonstrations, but it's really about the military personnel.
Yes, it is. The people that maintain this equipment and make it go are the ones that really count.
We're going to see just how well it goes. Absolutely spectacular, as I say, the Air and Sea Show. Let's get right to it. And we kick things off at the world's largest air show with a bang. Direct hit by that F-18 amphibious assault vehicles loaded with leathernecks coming ashore, Gibby.
Yes, they are, and this is a lot better than what they had to deal with at Omaha Beach. You see the low profile of those vehicles gives them less chance of being hit by enemy fire.
The Marine Invasion Reserve units with combined air, land, and sea units out of Atlanta, Miami, and Jacksonville, respectively, showing how the different branches of the armed forces work together. Cooperation very important.
And the technology today allows for a lot of close coordination with the air and sea assets. Here comes the F-18, a real workhorse for the Marines.
Cover from the air as they're landing on the beach. And they seem to have everything covered extremely well.
Yes, they do. And those guns right now are providing overhead cover for those troops on the beach. Of course, they'd be hunkered down a little bit if this was under actual conditions.
There's a Huey, one of the best friends an infantryman can have, Gibby.
The venerable Huey from the Vietnam era. Still in there doing a great job, though. Here we see them getting ready to pull back to head out to their ship.
They got this done in a hurry, Gibby. Communication is very important.
Absolutely is. Each one of those armored assault vehicles is tied in by radio to the command center aboard ship, so it gives the field commander a lot of control over his assets.
See the headsets on the guys up there in the gun turrets.
Well, communication is the key today. We don't have real large forces, but we have very effective forces.
They got from the ships across the water up on the beach in a huge, huge hurry. They've got it secured, and as you say, now heading back out. Mission accomplished to this point.
Right. You know, in the Air Force, we say speed is life, but in an assault on a beach, it's also applied.
The Hueys and the Cobras exiting, as we say, mission accomplished very impressively. And what an opportunity, Gibby, for the American public to see an invasion such as this and the coordination involved.
Absolutely, and it's a great chance to see how they coordinate the technology. That's one of the great attractions for the military for our recruiters today.
And we now turn our attention to the only helicopter air show team on the circuit, the Showcopters. 3 helicopters. As you see, they spin. They also go sideways and backwards, and they shoot plenty of smoke.
They do, and they're the only team of its kind in the United States, so we're seeing something very new here. I had a chance to talk with one of the pilots and all the safety features that they do as they're going through these maneuvers.
They have cameras mounted all over them, and those will enable us to show you some great looks at the other acts from the sky here, especially the great military airplanes. Now down on the water for some of the sea portion of the Air and Sea Show, the Crystal Springs Water Ski Show. Mickey the Clown making the moves. Water skiers being pulled by Sea-Doos. We'll be bringing you the Sea-Doo personal watercraft demonstration later on in the show.
Conditions are pretty rough this weekend. Windy for our performers, like those in the 3-person pyramid here. Really takes a lot of effort to handle that chop.
Another part of the Crystal Springs Water Ski Show is the hang gliding demonstration. Out of Miami, hang gliding.
The earliest form of flight. Kind of looks like a pterodactyl, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. It's gorgeous to watch. And the wind along the beach makes it a great day, too, for some kite flying. The Crystal Springs stunt kites getting in on the act as well. The world champion cigarette racing team also joining the salute to the military. Cigarette powerboat's one of the main attractions of the sea portion of this show. And we caught up with their main man, owner Jerry Grigoli, who talked with us about the cigarette experience.
Cigarette's a custom-made boat. We make it here in Miami, Florida, actually Aventura. We make simple stuff. Interior, upholstery, everything but the motors. Fastest go-fast boat on the water. #1 in powerboat racing. There's nothing else to be said. Cigarette is cigarette.
A formation run by this fleet of cigarettes. When you consider all the titles this manufacturer has won in all forms and classes of powerboat racing, well, you know the fans along the beach are getting an eyeful of the top guns offshore. Coming up, we'll get an eyeful on board as Miami Dolphins wide receiver O.J. McDuffie rides with the top guns in the sky, the Blue Angels. The Air and Sea Show 2000, part of the National Salute to the Military, rolls on from Fort Lauderdale. The Air and Sea Show brought to you by your local Air Force recruiter. You have plans, the Air Force can help you get them off the ground. Visit airforce.com. And by Simon, simply the best shopping there is. And simply the best parachute team in the world, Gibby.
Absolutely the best team in the world. They've won all the championships several times.
The Golden Knights, a tradition of excellence, goes back about 41 years. The U.S. Army parachute team competes all over the world.
Yeah, the average team member does about 800 jumps a year.
Look at that view from above the clouds. Just gorgeous how they link up at high speed.
Got 9 team members there. They're falling right now at about 120 miles an hour. They can accelerate that up to about 250 terminal speed. Break apart here. You can see those steerable chutes that they've developed out of their training exercises. This gives us pinpoint accuracy for landing, and you see our special operations forces use those types of chutes to do their very specific type of work.
As impressive and accomplished as these guys are now as a parachute team, let's remember they are soldiers first.
Absolutely they are, and they could go right back into duty if they had to.
2 different teams of Golden Knights. This is the black team.
Right, in the some 46 years that they've been doing their shows, they've been around, they've done 9,000 aerial demonstrations in 46 different countries.
And look at that pinpoint landing right on the mark on the beach. Here comes another one. Just like that.
And if you don't land on that mark, you've got to buy the soda afterwards.
So, you want to land on it. There's a tandem landing. And there is the big Golden Knights airplane. Impressive in its own right.
That's their support aircraft. That's where they do the jump.
Golden Knights. Truly a sight to behold. And speaking of sights to behold, that's quite the swashbuckling fashion statement falling out of the sky. Now, this Buccaneer may not be an NFL mascot, but looks like he knows how to fire the crowd up. And the smooth sax sounds. Blue Note recording artist Richard Elliott serenading the Merrill Lynch family night. Great way to cap off a day of awesome air and sea show festivities. The Merrill Lynch family night kicking into high gear with the Navy SEALs lighting up the sky. A lot more from them later on in the show. And then a surprise visit from this Navy F-14 Tomcat, kicking in the afterburners to cue the great Zambelli fireworks display. Merrill Lynch family night, an explosion of activity for the senses. More awesome sights like this Navy F-18 Hornet lighting up the sky. We saw the F-18s earlier, Gibby, taking part in the Marine invasion. Very versatile.
This is a U.S. Navy multi-role fighter designed to perform both the fighter and attack missions for the Navy and the Marine Corps. Here he's doing a minimum radius combat turn, which shows the capability of the airplane.
Very impressive indeed. And of course, the Blue Angels fly the FA-18s, and usually when the Blue Angels come to town, local celebrity gets a ride. In this case, none other than the Miami Dolphins wideout, O.J. McDuffie. Before you can go up, you have to have a briefing, and I guarantee you O.J. is as intense here as he's ever been in the Dolphins locker room.
Blue Angels use it. It's very maneuverable.
He's being briefed on all the safety measures and procedures. It's got to happen before you suit up for this one. Out in the tarmac, is O.J. pumped?
wasn't playing football, this is definitely what I'd be doing right here.
How does this compare to getting ready to play the Jets?
Ooh, I say this is probably tougher than getting ready to play the Jets, you know, but it's going to be a lot more fun than playing the Jets. It's too tough.
Different kind of jet aboard Angel 7, the only two-seater in the fleet, piloted by Lieutenant Scott Carvey. OJ's radio signals juice. He's going to get squeezed right off the bat. 4 times the force of gravity, 4 Gs.
Take a look back over your shoulder. All right, here we go.
Here comes the sound barrier.
There's 90%. Here comes the speed of sound. There's 0.95. Here we go. Bam. There's the speed of sound. 650 miles an hour.
Now OJ takes the controls and does a nice snap roll for his mom, Gloria.
All the way around. There you go.
Okay, how about this? A 7G turn. That breathing exercise is part of the briefing OJ had on the ground, but it's coming in very handy here. All these pilots go through tremendous conditioning to be able to handle this.
There's 5 Gs.
Good thing OJ's in great shape.
There you go, 7.5 Gs. How you feeling?
All right, now a little fun on the way home. Let's turn it over, flying inverted. That's the ocean above.
You know he sees us, baby.
Oh, yeah. He hears us too. No doubt about it.
OJ handled himself very well up there, no doubt about it. Glad to be back. Mission accomplished.
All right, partner. That's a good time.
Now back on the beach, the U.S. Coast Guard rescue demonstration. The jet marks the rescue area, Gibby.
That's the Coast Guard Falcon, and Miami Coast Guard is probably one of the busiest groups in the whole Coast Guard. They put out an awful lot of effort in behalf of the public, saving 14 lives a day, assisting 328 people a day, a real bargain for the U.S. taxpayer.
HH-65 Dolphin will put the divers in the water. We saw the victim out there marked by a flare.
Probably one of the most welcome sights on the water if you're in trouble is that Coast Guard Dolphin coming in.
And the friendliest face you're ever going to see is the guy who pulls you up.
They do a wonderful job.
H-60 Jayhawk out of U.S. Coast Guard Air Station Clearwater, hoisting the diver and the victim. U.S. Coast Guard Air Stations Miami and Clearwater involved in this. Again, coordination so important. Another successful rescue.
When you consider that the Coast Guard is out there doing drug interdiction mission, also law enforcement boardings, and their immigration control, they really do an excellent job.
It's a great display of teamwork, and that's what the military is all about. Nobody knows that better than the Commander-in-Chief of the United States Southern Command.
I'll tell you, it takes a special person to be a soldier, a sailor, an airman, a Marine, or a Coast Guardsman. You know, we're all in this together. We're serious about this business of joint services and cooperation, and I think there's something in this for everybody. The services are each looking for a very special and different kind of young person, and I believe in this great country there's enough to go around. We've just got to reach out and touch them.
Great words from General Wilhelm. And here's a very special individual, Ian Groom. He's magic in the Fuji Sukhoi. His performance is coming up. Perfect weekend. 3.5 million people making Fort Lauderdale home to the largest air show in the world. A true happening in and for South Florida. And we're on board with Ian Groom, providing us a nice look at the spectator fleet down below. He's going to really push that Fuji Sukhoi today, and that means a lot. As I found out earlier when I took a look at this amazing piece of equipment. The Fujifilm Su-31 is incredibly light, 1,350 pounds. Let me show you the propellers here. This is wood coated in Kevlar. There's Kevlar all over the airplane, as well as titanium and stainless steel. How light? Ian Groom says you talk about pushing the envelope. With this airplane, there virtually is no envelope.
Well, the airplane is very unstable, and with the wing the way it's designed, really the possibilities for flying this airplane are unlimited. I've never got to the point where I've exhausted the envelope of the airplane. So the harder you work, the more you fly, the more effort you put into it, the more the airplane can do for you.
And right now he's doing snap rolls over the Atlantic. That's his specialty, Gibby.
Look at the superb picture of concentration you have here. Ian spends a lot of time keeping himself in great physical shape, an absolute must for this kind of flying.
Right across Air Show Center comes the Fuji Sukhoi.
He'll pull up now into a series of spins, and you'll see how he's snap rolling. That's 720 degrees per second. That's 2 complete revolutions every second.
Gaining altitude, puts it into a stall. That looks like a Lumshavak to me.
Right, Lumshavak means headache, and you can see where it could cause a headache.
In Hungarian, as I understand it.
Even here.
Now into the dive, as you see, and the onboard snap rolls. You mentioned the G-forces a moment ago, Gibby. As you say, he's got to be in great shape, and look at how it just pushes his face right through it. Let me get something in my teeth to control things there.
That smoke tells the story as you watch him doing these maneuvers and gives you an idea of the many things that airplane can do.
Getting some great video here from the Showcopters. And then on board, right straight down toward the ocean. Now the climb, over the top.
This is an outside loop. This is a maneuver that it took a number of years to be able to be perfected. An airplane has to do an awful lot of mechanical things to allow you to do that.
This is an airplane that was made in the Soviet Union, now, of course, in Russia. Just a terrific aerobatic plane.
The airplane is made with a lot of space-age materials. There's titanium and Kevlar in that airplane. It's not very heavy, as was mentioned, but it's quite strong. 23 Gs that it can take on a positive side, and very close to that on the negative side.
Well, we're going to see now, gaining altitude, getting set to attempt a record for snap rolls. Here he goes. Just watch it spin. 1, 2, 3, 4. He's looking for 34 snap rolls in a row. Makes you dizzy at home. Hang on to your armchair. Ian Groom is putting himself and this airplane through it. And he gets it done. Congratulations, Ian.
Conditions were perfect today. This is a great, great air show. Beautiful sky, perfect wind, perfect conditions, and I've been training all winter for this, so you know, this just wasn't an odd feat. I've been working at this for the last 3.5 months.
A lot of excitement in the air to the Air Force Experience. This is just one of the many exciting things to be found in the corporate display village, where the public can make a real-life connection with the military and vice versa. These displays throughout the site, also at the Galleria Mall. They also give corporate America a chance to connect with the public. Outfits like Pfizer, North Broward Hospital District, cigarette boats we've seen. They treat the people of South Florida to a first-class weekend, and they raise a lot of money for the Boys and Girls Clubs. The Boys and Girls Clubs also raising money by selling the programs for the Air and Sea Show. But perhaps the biggest opportunity is for the military. Just ask the commander of Air Education and Training Command, General Lloyd Big Newton.
Well, this show will do several things for us, I think. Number one, it will let the American people know what their tax dollars are doing for them, both in the way of high-quality equipment, which we have for our people, but more importantly, high-quality training, which our people get, and how those great Americans are serving this country so well.
Let's take a look now at some of that high-quality Air Force training and equipment with the A-10, Gibby.
Well, if ever an airplane was designed specifically for its mission, it's the A-10 Warthog. Everything about it is specific to the close air support mission and ground attack. The engines are mounted high on the back for ease of maintainability. It has a lot of weapons. Fixture points on the underside, can carry 16,000 pounds of ordnance, can loiter in the combat area for a long period of time, which is very important to the ground commanders. That airplane also can fly at night using night vision goggles and be real lethal to enemy tank commanders. In fact, seeing that airplane come up on your scope is going to ruin your whole day, and many Iraqi tank commanders did just that. Here he's showing off a little bit of the slow flight capabilities of the airplane, but that 30-millimeter cannon in front that shoots nuclear-tipped ordnance can penetrate 2.5 inches of armor.
Very impressive. Well, next up, World War II's finest, the B-51 Mustang, Kermit Week's fantasy of flight. We welcome you back to the 2000 Air and Sea Show with a beautiful shot of the Navy's USS Nassau just off the coast of Fort Lauderdale. And in the air, it's Kermit Weeks and his P-51 Mustang, Gibby.
This is a real nostalgic sweetheart from World War II. When we started penetrating deep into Europe on bombing missions, we needed a long-range fighter designed in a hurry, and this airplane from design to flying was 117 days, a most amazing feat. The airplane ultimately turned out in 15,000 copies, a significant amount of airplanes, and there's only 170 of them left flying today.
The P indicates pursuit that it really was a fighter, and the pilot owner, Kermit Weeks, putting the Mustang through the paces here, is the founder of Fantasy of Flight. That's an aviation-themed attraction featuring more than 20 vintage aircraft in Polk City in Central Florida. Kermit, very well known in the aviation community and a very accomplished pilot.
This airplane is considered one of the nicest P-51s in the world. It was a grand champion warbird at Oshkosh last year.
Watching here, you're seeing watermelons going out the side of the canopy. Kermit likes to do that kind of a different sort of bombing run for the Mustang.
Yes, it's a very special weapon that we're dropping there. Impress the crowd.
Kermit has a lot of fun up there. Well, from that traditional favorite at the Air and Sea Show to one of the most successful traditions at this event, the North Broward Hospital Kids Day. Every sixth grader in the county and an awful lot of ROTC students, 5,000 altogether, with a special preview of the show. This is done in cooperation with the City of Fort Lauderdale Parks and Recreation Department and the School Board of Broward County. No cost to the school system. All the kids get T-shirts from the North Broward Hospital District and plenty of refreshments on hand. It just is one fantastic field trip. Educational, inspirational. The kids witnessing amazing technology firsthand, and plus, they're exposed to solid military core values. Now the F-15, a fighter that can be reconfigured and go from an air show and be combat ready in 72 hours. It's seen its share of duty.
Last time this aircraft saw action, it was deployed at Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia, enforcing the southern no-fly zone in Iraq, starting with Desert Fox, running through about February of 1999, running combat air patrols in the south.
In the Air Force inventory since 1972, this is still our primary air superiority fighter in the U.S. Air Force. It will soon be augmented by the F-22 Raptor. The airplane holds the climb record from ground to 65,000 feet in 2 minutes, and it has more horsepower than all of the race cars at Indianapolis over a 2-year period.
Now the F-117 Nighthawk, the stealth fighter.
This is technology unique to the Air Force. Very technical, very sophisticated, and very expensive. You'll notice that this aircraft is very angular in shape, and as we see the B-2 bomber, you'll see the more rounded shape of the new technology. To keep this airplane flying, there's 3 onboard computers that are constantly working and also providing redundancy to keep the airplane in the air.
The F-117, not invisible, but low observable. This is an airplane folks at a show like this just love to see. Now, down on the beach, we had the pleasure of talking with the Air Force's second highest ranking civilian, the Honorable Carol DiBattiste. She is the Undersecretary of the Air Force, and she shared her enthusiasm for what this show means when it comes to recruiting folks to fly planes such as this.
This is a prime recruiting market here because we have parents, we have educators here, we have corporate sponsors, and we have young people. So if they come and see the awesome display of air power, go into the Air Force Experience Van, which they get to fly an F-16. I just did it. It's awesome. I think they'll become very interested. It is the best, and I encourage a lot of people to take a look at what we have to offer.
Awesome indeed. Now, here's what the Navy has to offer in the way of air superiority. The F-14 Tomcat.
Well, this is the Navy's air superiority fighter. You see it with the wings swept now, 68 degrees aft, and they can be moved forward to 20 degrees forward. So the airplane has excellent high and low speed capabilities necessary for the carrier mission. The airplane has a very impressive capability for delivering armament air-to-air as well as air-to-ground. There's a good shot of the wings being swept back, and you can see the afterburners cut in as he swings around, and you see that mist coming off the airplane as the heat is dissipated by the high speed.
That'll do better than twice the speed of sound. Now, the F-14 in landing configuration, wings swung forward to create more lift.
Exactly that, and now he's showing the high power to weight ratio of the airplane by doing that kind of a maneuver at low speed. There's the mist we talked about earlier.
F-14 Tomcat. Wow. When we come back, what Canada has to offer. The Snowbirds coming right up. We have seen an awful lot already here at the Air and Sea Show. There's much more to come. Gibby, one that always stops the show for me is the Harrier.
Most popular airplane in the show. It can do a lot of things. It can go straight up and down, it can turn around in circles, and it can back up.
Very impressive, as we are about to see. And here. Because airfields are easy targets to be taken out, the Marines wanted a plane that doesn't need to work out of an airfield.
Attack and destroy surface targets under day and night visual conditions. That was the direction for the airplane, and it can do that. You'll notice the unique vector thrust on this airplane as it pushes the air downward instead of out the back of the engines, allowing it to do these incredible maneuvers that the crowd enjoys so much.
Very impressive at a show like this, Gibby, but it's also, more importantly, very helpful in combat situations.
Particularly for the Marines, who have a very compact mission for air, sea, and land, and this provides an excellent air component for that mission. There's a great picture of the thrust nozzles, and he's now going to begin to transition from hovering flight to conventional flight. You'll see him bring the gear up as he begins to move off. The doors open, the wheels come up, door closes, and he moves off into horizontal flight.
Harrier, quite an airplane. Quite an affair at the Radisson Bahia Mar. Exquisite evening of food, fun, world-class entertainment. The drumbeat sounds there of Jelly Eye. The sponsors' party reception, a great opportunity for government and military officials to mingle with civic leaders in corporate America, people so integral to this great salute to the U.S. Armed Services. Making the entrance to the star-studded event, the Golden Knights of the U.S. Army.
That's the hard part.
See all the folks sharing experiences there. Gorgeous fireworks display signaling everybody come inside for some stirring words from senior leadership of the military at the podium.
There are tremendous, tremendous opportunities available. First and foremost, the opportunity to serve their country and make a difference by doing something worthwhile.
The young men and women who maintain and operate those weapon systems have not broken for 224 years, and they will never break.
In my time of being an American, I don't know of a time when we've had a strong economy without having a strong military.
This is our
And a special presentation was made to the Royal Canadian Air Force's Snowbirds, the first international team to perform here at the Fort Lauderdale Air and Sea Show. And an impressive group this is. 9 airplanes, count them, 9, Gibby.
Right, that's a trainer aircraft, and it's very, very close formation. We had a chance to talk to the pilots of the group, and they have an excellent sense of humor, kidding our guys about all the equipment they have, but they do a wonderful job, and I think it's great to have an international presence here at the air show.
Their feeling is with those 9 airplanes, there's an opportunity to do an awful lot of different things. There are 50 different formations by the solo pilots in a 45-minute show by this group.
Well, the airplane is capable, although it's a trainer, of flying at some 300 miles an hour, and when you're only flying a few feet apart, you have to be at attention all the time. Look at that. That's a really amazing sight.
The Snowbirds were first formed as a bomber squadron back during World War II. They earned 11 battle honors, a testament to the bravery of their wartime aviators in the Snowbird Squadron.
This is their 30th anniversary, too, so the year 2000 is very special to the Snowbirds.
They are within inches of each other during many of these formations. You want to talk about a show, you don't want to make any mistakes during this show. And of course, they don't. That's how good they are, like all these precision teams.
Well, they really are in the Warrior Squadron class, and they certainly are appreciated as an international team. One of the top, along with our own Thunderbirds and Blue Angels.
Royal Canadian Air Force Snowbirds. From the Canadian Snowbirds back to the beautiful Atlantic and those Canadian-built Bombardier Sea-Doos. More of the Sea-Doo watercraft demonstration. Beautiful but rather choppy Atlantic today. A tribute to these machines and to the folks involved in the show. A lot of fun out there on the water and a lot of fun for the crowd watching. Great fun. On the tarmac at the Fort Lauderdale Executive Jet Center, the Red Barons waiting in the wings. Beautiful Fort Lauderdale Beach. Now the real heavyweights, the Bombers, and a quick intro from the man responsible for bringing all that firepower to the Air and Sea Show, Lieutenant General Tom Keck, commander of the 8th Air Force.
Today we have an opportunity to see all three of the bombers in the Air Force, the B-1, the B-52, and the B-2 stealth bomber. Basically, they make up the Air Force strike power of the United States, and they can strike anywhere in the world, anytime, with great precision.
Speaking of that great precision, let's have a look at what the people in this crowd are focused on.
The B-52, a venerable veteran of the Strategic Air Command. Grandsons of the first pilots of that airplane are flying them today, but the airplane is quite capable out into the future. The B-1 is the follow-on to the B-52. It has a radar signature 1/100th of the size of the B-52. It can deliver nuclear conventional weapons, and it has a highly sophisticated delivery system. It can fly nap of the earth as well as at high altitude. The B-2, which is the follow-on to that, represents the absolute cutting edge in technology. The airplane is virtually invisible. A very spectacular view of the airplane from our airborne cameras, and a real privilege to have this aircraft at this air show.
A lot of people, when they see the B-2 coming, Gibby, look at the shape of it and say, how in the world does that fly? That, of course, is part of the stealth technology, which is very impressive.
Well, it couldn't fly if it wasn't for the computer age, because much like the F-117, there are several onboard computers doing what no human being could do to keep the airplane in the air.
It really does wow the crowd.
Here we have a high-speed pass, wings back, afterburners in, 4, count them.
Just below the speed of sound. And now B-52.
Strategic bomber mission is a new mission for the Guard and Reserve. This one happens to be out of Barksdale, Louisiana, Air Force Reserve.
Heavyweights indeed. And the best seat in the house to check out the bombers and all this military might is the VIP Chalet and Corporate Hospitality Area. As we've said, these businesses play such a vital role putting on this first-class event. And these corporations get a chance to treat their employees, guests, some first-class hospitality right along A1A, right here on the shore of beautiful Fort Lauderdale, Florida. The attention to the sky, and once again, check out this act, the Red Baron Stearman Squadron, Curtis Stearman biplanes. Unique sound of the radial engine of these authentic open cockpit biplanes. Boeing biplanes all built between 1941 and 1943.
Well, these airplanes harken us back to the early days of stunt flying when America fell in love with the air show. These guys would be out there in the countryside doing their thing, flying from town to town and, you know, advertising that they were there. The crowds would come out. Many Americans got their first ride in airplanes in these bi-wingers.
They were originally training planes for Army and Navy pilots used as crop dusters after the war. This Red Baron Stearman Squadron actually created back in the late 70s as a way of distributing products to independent grocery stores across the country. Red Baron Pizza Service figured it was a good way to get around because the planes don't need large airports in major cities to land in.
Well, these pilots are certainly veterans, and they're putting on a fine show. The onboard cameras give you a great flavor of the closeness of the airplanes. This is a signature maneuver that they're doing right now. You see, it's a sweetheart, and the crowd loves that particular maneuver.
A little gesture of affection for the 3.5 or so million people out here at this fabulous opportunity here for South Florida, and for people to see not only a great act like this, but again, all the wonderful things that the U.S. military now is doing.
And it's a little bit different, too, to hear the great sound of those engines. As they move those props through, you hear the pitch changing and all. It's quite a bit different than the jets.
We talk about the sights and the sounds, and indeed the sounds, again, of this radial engine. Very important to the experience for everybody.
Here you see them doing a wing over. They're doing their loops, putting out a lot of smoke. Incidentally, that smoke is environmentally safe. It doesn't do anything to hurt the atmosphere. It just dissipates and is gone.
In case you're wondering about the name Red Baron, yes, named after Baron man Fred von Richthofen, downed some 80 Allied aircraft during World War II.
Shame on him.
Indeed. Wouldn't happen today.
You can count on that.
There is a lot more to come from the Air and Sea Show here at Fort Lauderdale. Stay right where you are. The view is from 13,000 feet in the air. The U.S. Navy Leapfrog Show is underway.
Well, this is a show, but these are really serious warriors. They're trained in special weapons on land, sea, and air. And these are the guys that go in ahead of the invasion force. They carry out special warfare missions, and they are truly impressive. This is just a show of their skill. They're usually operating in the dark of night.
15-man team. Every one of those 15 men, a Navy SEAL. That's Sea, Air, Land Commando.
And the training they have to go through is the kind of thing they make movies about. It really is rugged training. You have to want it.
It's a 3-year tour of duty for the SEALs and then back to a special Navy warfare group. Squads like these make those involved in this nation's defense America's greatest team, the U.S. Armed Forces. Great thing to be part of. Just ask Vice Admiral Mobley, commander of the Naval Air Force, U.S. Atlantic Fleet. He'll be glad to tell you.
The military really is a wonderful place for an 18 or 19-year-old kid out of high school to get themselves together. A lot of kids I know really don't know what they want to do with their lives. And I think we need to send the signal out to them that the military is a good place just to sort it all out. Get a lot of training, a lot of experience and leadership. Even if you decide not to make the military a career, you're going to come out of there a much better person, a much better American, and I think more equipped to deal with life and probably go out and get a better job.
So please raise your right hand.
That's exactly what dozens of young men and women had on their minds as we witnessed new recruits enlist to serve their country. Nice job, Gibby, doing the honor.
It truly was an honor.
Then the new enlistees got an eye full of precision excellence with this performance by the United States Air Force drill team. Some of the highlights of Media Day, which opens the weekend of Air and Sea Show activities. But once the scene shifts to the beach, opening ceremonies are actually show within a show. Stearman's circling. A golden night parachuting just below the center of your screen to present the flag for the national anthem. U.S. Army Golden Knights, and then pass and review this KC-135 tanker out of MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa. There's our flag, the precision landing. F-16s out of Homestead Reserve Base, not far from here in Fort Lauderdale. National Guards from Connecticut and Massachusetts flying the A-10 Warthogs. And from Oceana Naval Air Station near Norfolk, F-18s. Right now, the show continues with the Florida Air Force Reserve rescue demonstration. A parachutist going in the water, playing the role of the downed pilot ejected enemy territory.
We take combat rescue very seriously in our forces. The C-130 has spotted the pilot. The HH-60 is in there. You can see the ground fire. The A-10 is up, also protecting the area as the other rescue assets get ready to come in there. The A-10s are from the Air National Guard. Here's the divers going into the water now out of the HH-60. There's not a lot of time to get to these guys. Once the coast is clear, they'll start moving in again with the A-10s to make sure there's no more air or ground interdiction. Black Hawk is now lifting out the pilots. That's a welcome sight to any pilot. We've had some excellent examples of combat rescue in Kosovo and in Desert Storm, and these are really brave guys doing the job. You can see the machine guns firing out of the side there, giving it a lot of realism.
The The A-10's job is complete, but there's a bit more to do here, Gibby.
Yes, there is. That HH-60 can also do medical evac, and going out into the distance may need some refueling. Here comes the refueler with 2 drogues hanging out, 2 MH-60s coming in. Fuel is cheap, life is costly.
Indeed, and a great cooperative venture. We're coming right back to the Air and Sea Show in Fort Lauderdale with the Northern Lights, and let me tell you, this is an act you don't want to miss. Stay where you are. Welcome back to Fort Lauderdale, a great city for this fabulous 2000 Air and Sea Show. And we get a look at our second international team, the Northern Lights. Used to be made up of former Snowbirds, all Canadian, but now a truly international squad. Current members from Canada, the U.S., Switzerland, even the Ukraine. The pilot of the #1 plane, the lead, Andre Lortie, is an original team member. He's seen the team evolve. He talked about dealing with new personnel in a high-stakes game of formation flying.
When we do get a new member, it takes at least 2 or 3 months to train that person, and during that training, that's when you develop how to trust them and all the faith. It takes time.
These are extra 300s, Gibby, German airplanes.
Right, new planes for them. They have a lot better visibility in these 300s, and it's very apparent the military and competition training that these pilots have. They're very crisp and very exact in their maneuvers. It's a pleasure to watch.
I saw this team several years ago when they first came out. They were very good then, and they are even better now.
This is one of their signature maneuvers. It's a 4-up vertical climb, and here's the guy doing a roll around another airplane, and if you want to have confidence in your teammate, this is where you need it.
On board, you see what it's like during loops and rolls. All 4 together, and a quick spin up to invert it.
This is the crazy diamond maneuver. It sure is crazy, and you have to be right on top of your form to perform it.
Every pilot has to be on top of his or her form, and I say that because one of these pilots is a woman. She's Michelle Tony. She is from Switzerland, and she is one of the best you will see, male or female, anywhere flying an airplane.
Coming out of a hammerhead stall and into their final maneuver, the black cross split.
The Northern Lights shining here at Fort Lauderdale. Prior to their performance, the Northern Lights, like all the other performers and their crew members, headed over to the Bimini Boatyard for a relaxed evening of fine food and spirited conversation. Give the participants a chance to unwind before the big show.
Well, there's a serving of scrambled eggs at the Bimini Boatyard, and part of the fun of being in a group like this, you may work hard, you're at a lot of briefings, you're doing a lot of hard work out on the ramp. The people that maintain these airplanes have to be included, and here's a chance to come out, have some fun, get together, and really relax. And believe me, air crew people know how to relax.
We've talked about cooperation in this great show. Get a look at this coming up. Real cooperation in the cutting of the cake. From a special evening to something special in the air, here's an American Airlines brand new Boeing 767. That's a little different, Gibby, from the military transport you might be used to.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a lot more comfortable inside. We do occasionally use them on contract, and it's nice to see the commercial side after seeing the military and general aviation.
We're not done yet. Something very special is still to come. The Blue Angels. Stay with us. The Fort Lauderdale Air and Sea Show 2000 is brought to you by your local Air Force recruiter. You have plans, the Air Force can help you get them off the ground. Visit airforce.com. And by Simon, simply the best shopping there is. And how good is this team, the U.S. Navy Blue Angels? As if I really had to identify this team for you. As good as it gets, the Blue Angels are. But it's not all air shows. It's not all just showing off for these folks. The pilots of these planes also are involved in combat. The #4 pilot, Scott Moyer, led the Navy's first strike into Kosovo. 41 combat missions.
I'll tell you, it was an eye-opener the first night that we were over there, taking off in the dark and actually being shot at and having to deliver ordnance on target on time. Everything that we train to, the ante just goes up a little bit when it's for real.
But this is a show, and what a show it is, Gibby.
It certainly is. They're going to fly 70 shows this year at 35 locations, and they spend January through March getting ready. So there's a lot of training involved in this. Their main job, of course, is to enhance recruiting for the Navy and the Marine Corps, and to service role models, which they do very, very well.
These guys take a very large amount of pride in being part of the recruiting effort, because the folks down on the shore see them and say, can I be part of that? And maybe they'll join. That's what this is about, one of the major objectives of this entire Air and Sea Show.
This show is a great chance for the taxpayers to see where their dollars go, and for potential recruits to take advantage of the many opportunities offered in our security team, the United States Armed Forces. We certainly hope some will step up and take that advantage.
Whether it is the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, the Coast Guard, Reserves, they are all looking for young men and women.
The best of the best, our young men and young women, our most valuable resource, our husbands, wives, sons, and daughters.
This is just one of the places we can take you. The Blue Angels, and what an act they are putting on for us here.
It's a wonderful opportunity to see the precision flight, the graceful aerobatic maneuvers of the 4-plane diamonds and the 2-plane solos.
All 6 together here in perfect formation, a tribute to their training, and here they go apart, Gibby.
This is a fountain split, one of their signature maneuvers, all 6 airplanes involved in it. Here's the crossover with the 2 solos. They rejoin and come back out of that maneuver in another spray. This is a very, very crowd-pleasing maneuver. Again, precision flying. 1 airplane inverted, very close together, very dangerous, but very competently done.
We got a feel there for what it's like to be aboard, and again, these guys have to be in great shape. The Blue Angels showing their stuff. We conclude the festivities at the Air and Sea Show with the world's largest American flag, 30 by 80 feet of Old Glory, courtesy of the Aerial Sign Company. A fitting end to a salute to the men and women who serve and protect our nation, our United States military. For Brigadier General Gibby Vartan, I'm John Nicholson. So long from Fort Lauderdale. The Air and Sea Show has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com, part of the Go Network, go.com.